My name is David, and I have to tell you something I should have understood 40 years ago. I built a $300 million company. I had a corner office, a private jet, and a beach house. People considered me successful. Business magazines wrote about me. Young entrepreneurs wanted to know my secrets. But what no one knew was that while I was building my empire, I was destroying the things that mattered most to me. And by the time I realized it, by then it was too late, and I couldn't fix most things. Now, I'm 78 years old. My company is gone. I sold it years ago. I still have the money. But honestly, I'd give every penny of that money back just to go back and do everything differently. And no matter your age, if you find yourself hoping to live just a few more years, you should hear this story, because I was once just like you, and I was wrong about everything.
When I look back now, the hardest truth to accept isn't that I failed them. It's that I truly believed I was doing the right thing. In 1978, I wasn't chasing money for greed. I was chasing security. I wanted to be the man who never had to say, "I can't afford that." The man who could protect his family from uncertainty. I was 30 years old, newly married to Sarah, no safety net, no rich parents, just ambition and fear wearing the mask of determination. Everyone said starting a business then was reckless. I worked anyway, 80, sometimes 90 hours a week. I missed dinners, I missed birthdays, I missed anniversaries. And every time Sarah smiled and said, "It's okay, we're building our future," I took it as permission. That's the first dangerous lie we tell ourselves. They understand. What I didn't realize is that understanding has a limit, and love quietly keeps score. In 1983, our daughter Emma was born. I was in a board meeting when Sarah went into labor. I remember looking at my watch, calculating how quickly I could wrap things up. I arrived at the hospital after it was over. I wasn't in the room when my daughter took her first breath. I told myself I'd make it up later. There would be other moments. There would be time. That became my philosophy. Later. Later never comes. As Emma grew, my company grew faster. First steps, first words, school plays, soccer games. Sarah was always there. I was always almost there. The memories I have of those years aren't moments, they're apologies. I'll come next time. I just need this 1 week. This deal is critical. One afternoon, Emma came into my office holding a drawing. It was our family. She was smiling, Sarah was smiling, and I was behind a desk with a phone in my hand. I was on a conference call. I raised one finger and said, "Just a minute." She stood there for maybe 30 seconds. Then she quietly walked away. Years later, I found that drawing in a box. Underneath it, she had written, "Daddy, I love you even when you're busy." She was 7 years old. That sentence still hurts more than my heart attack ever did. By the mid-1990s, the business exploded. 50 million, then more. We moved into a bigger house. Vacations started appearing on the calendar. Hawaii, Europe. On paper, it looked like success had arrived, but something had already left. Sarah didn't wait for me anymore. She built a life that didn't require my presence. Friends, music, charity work. Emma was 13 and barely spoke to me. I thought this was normal teenage distance. I told myself another lie. Once she goes to college, we'll reconnect. In 2001, we dropped Emma off at Stanford. She hugged her mother for a long time. She hugged me for 5 seconds. Polite. Efficient. That same year, Sarah asked for a divorce. 23 years of marriage. She didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She just said she was tired of being alone while married. And the most painful part? I couldn't argue. She was right. After the divorce, I did what I knew best. I worked harder. The company hit $200 million. I was on magazine covers. People called me an inspiration. No one asked what it cost. In 2009, at 61 years old, I had a heart attack. Late night, empty office, chest pain I tried to ignore. I drove myself to the hospital. There was no one to call. Sarah had remarried. Emma lived in New York. I lay in that hospital bed surrounded by machines, and for the first time in my life, everything became painfully clear. Who was all this for? Not my wife, not my daughter, just my ego, and a finish line that kept moving. I sold the company a few years later. At 64, I had more money than I could ever spend, and no one to spend time with. I tried to reconnect with Emma. Phone calls, trips to New York, polite lunches. She's kind to me, but kindness isn't closeness. We don't share inside jokes, we don't share memories. I missed the years that build those things. Time doesn't forgive absence. I walked her down the aisle at her wedding. At the reception, she spoke about her mother, how Sarah was always there, how she taught her strength, how she showed her what love looks like. She thanked me for coming, not for being her father. That night, alone in my hotel room, I cried for the first time in decades, not because I lost money, because I finally understood what success without presence looks like. And that understanding came far too late.
I'm 78 now. I live alone in a quiet condo by the ocean. People think that sounds peaceful, and sometimes it is. I wake up without alarms, I read, I walk along the beach, I travel when I want. But silence feels different when it isn't chosen. There's a strange cruelty to time. When you're young, you're convinced you have too much of it. When you're old, you'd trade anything for just a little more. I have investments, properties, a retirement fund big enough to support 10 lifetimes. And yet, most evenings, I eat dinner alone. You don't feel loneliness all at once. It arrives quietly. At first, it's just empty chairs, then empty calendars, then birthdays remembered instead of celebrated. I watch families at restaurants now. Parents scrolling on their phones, children trying to get their attention, and I want to stand up and scream. You think you're busy, but you're not building anything more important than this moment. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Your job will replace you in weeks. Your company will forget you in years. But your absence will live forever in the hearts of the people you love. I see young professionals today making the same choices I made. 70-hour work weeks, missed dinners, missed bedtime stories. They say the same thing I used to say. Just a few more years. Once I hit this goal. Once I get this promotion. But there is always another goal. The finish line keeps moving, and while you chase it, your children grow up. Your marriage grows cold. Your parents grow old, quietly, without asking permission. I learned too late that success isn't measured in revenue or titles. It's measured in presence, in showing up when it's inconvenient, in choosing people over progress, in being there fully when it matters. No business deal I closed ever hugged me back. No award ever called me Dad. And here's the cruelest part. At the end of your life, no one asks how hard you worked. They ask if you were there. I don't tell this story to shame you. I tell it because I wish someone had shaken me when I was 30. If I could speak to my younger self, I'd say this: leave the office at 5. The email can wait. The meeting can wait. Your daughter's childhood cannot. Go to the game. Sit on the floor. Listen, even when you're tired. Because one day, you'll have all the time in the world and no one to share it with. So if you're watching this late at night, still working, still telling yourself just a little longer, let this be your sign. Close the laptop. Go home. Choose your family. Because at the end of everything, success without love is just another kind of failure. Thank you for listening to my story. If this made you uncomfortable, that's okay. Sometimes discomfort is the beginning of change. Tell me in the comments, what's one thing you're going to do differently after watching this? And if you don't want to learn this lesson 40 years too late like I did, subscribe. I'm sharing these stories so you don't have to. Thank you.